Go ahead.
So I thought that the most important thing that an organization and leaders can do to prepare for crisis is to break out of that "it won't happen here" mindset and and start turning towards the "it could happen here" mindset. I think the organizations can prepare their leaders by having a strict plan in place in a crisis organization. Routine training and workshops can really help to keep everybody fresh and on their toes. I know my husband does frequent training workshops on submarines for those potential crises, and those can keep everybody prepared for with a whole new body of knowledge, core skills, and their code of ethics. And even though the training can become repetitive, it helps to keep it stuck in the mind. And then that way, if the crisis does happen, it'll become second nature to them. And I think that staying on top of those routine workshops and their safety protocols, that's very important. Like in the BP spill, the organization and leaders lacked fixing their problems and keeping on top of their safety violations. And thus it led to the oil spill. So had the organization and the leaders been on top of their safety violations and ensuring that they were fixed, that could have been a big step in preventing the oil spill.
I agree uh, with the basic training. You need to always continue in training and risk management. As a leader, it's very important with any project to weigh out all the risk and the risk factors for any project. And especially for crisis management, especially with the BP oil spill and Tony Hayward, it's important if something does arise, a crisis does arise, it's to take ownership of their actions, show compassion, show concern, remain calm in any situation, and work through it. And show, as a leader, it's important to show that it's your number one priority in taking care of the crisis and not putting it on the back burner and making other things priority. You want to show the people that it is important to you, that you do care about the situation, and that you're doing anything possible to rectify the situation.
Yeah, I agree with with BP. Part of the problem that they had during their with their crisis communication was the denial of knowledge by the CEOs. And when they were asked in the prior spills before the Texas explosion, the CEOs were denying any knowledge of any safety issues. I think Paula touched on that as far as following the safety protocols. And so that, plays into I guess, the reputation or the culture of that organization, that they're, failing to take responsibility for what they should have done. And then also the lack of communication from their management to the employees as far as what was going on, that day caused that initial Texas explosion. And then they didn't learn from that mistake, and they continued with the other issues that led to the oil spill. They didn't change their practices and ended up repeating the same problems. Going back to the way organizations can prepare their leadership to respond to crisis. Paula touched on it, and so did Kim, as far as training. I guess the book talks about looking for trouble, and then also for recognizing danger signs. If you have leaders, you train your supervisors or your leaders to look for those red flags where things just don't seem to add up. The best time to look for those is when things are going well. As far as training your leaders to look and see if there's anything that can be done better, maybe do some preventative action so the little things don't transform into big things. And I think the big thing is training. I'm a police officer at U of A, and we do a lot of active shooter training. So, we go to vacant buildings, we simulate the worst case scenario. I know in the military, we did that as well. We did a lot of worst case scenario training. So when the actual incident does happen, it's not a big culture shock. So I think that can apply to any business or organization. Is you have these like group thinks or these days away where leadership goes and meets and they just think worst case scenario and they run this through their mind. So when it does happen, they're prepared for it.
Yeah, I like the idea of like don't think that like it won't happen to you. Like I think you got to just you have to have a plan set in place for a lot of different scenarios, and I think you need to just keep going over that and keep it in the back of your mind at all times that like if a crisis does happen, if you're a leader in the organization, that you need to like you can't be the one that freaks out. Your employees might freak out and they might whatever. But I think as a leader, you have to just know, okay, like we've practiced this, we have these plans in place. I just need to stay in a strong leadership role and just role model that everything's going to be okay and that like we'll get through it as a group kind of thing. I think that, kind of like, I guess practice some of the crises you can't, you don't know the situation until it comes, which can be tough. But yeah, I think you just have to reiterate it with all the leaders of the group and also your employees that, crises do happen, but there's ways to get through them and there's wrong ways to get through them. So you just have to, choose that right leadership approach to it.
I know one of the questions on our chapter 13 journal was how can leaders and followers prepare in advance for emergencies like what happened on the Hudson River? And like Andy said, there are some crises that you just can't prepare for, like that one, for instance. How can you prepare to land an airplane and keep everybody safe? Like there's even simulations can't really prepare you for that type of thing. So it's really important to keep a positive mindset in those situations and to remain calm, like the staff and all of the passengers on that plane did.
I agree. I was definitely going to bring up that point. But yeah, as a leader, as Captain Sully, when he had that clear, mindset of, okay, I got to remain calm because I have to make quick decision making. Because if I'm not calm, I can't make a logical decision. And if I freak out, I'm probably not going to be able to land this plane safely. So for him, it's remaining calm in that situation, doing that, analyzing, okay, there's buildings right here, there's a bridge right here, where is the best possible scenario to land this plane? So it's analyzing and quick thinking on your feet as a leader in those comms, remaining calm to land in that Hudson, especially with the staff. Basically having them remain calm, it wouldn't create that panic on the plane. Yes, there was a bit of chaos with that panic. They were able to calmly get out everybody from that plane just by that, keeping their emotions stable. And there's times, as a leader in a restaurant, training is very important. We have a book that basically goes over what tells leaders or managers what to do in case of a robbery, in case of a fire, in case of an earthquake. These are the things and the actions that you need to take. And it's important to also have that training and know every scenario that can happen in your situation, and what the best way to respond that in each situation.
Yeah, I like that, Kim. It's like,
go ahead, Andy.
Just to add on, like, having like a book or whatever it is, but also that, like, to go with that, it's like, as an organization, you need to have some kind of like time frame of like, that book could very easily just go in a closet and no one will look at it for 3-5 years. It's like, I think as an organization, you need to always be like, all right, maybe every 6 months or even 4 months, like let's just go over that book again. Like, let's just read through it a little bit, basic scenarios. And I think that can kind of go a long ways when a crisis does happen.
The book talks about creating a crisis management plan. I think that's pretty much what we're all touching on, is having something to reference. I think we all can relate to a simple crisis management plan that we've all gone through in like middle school or elementary school with fire drills. I mean, you know, the teacher tells all the kids, line up, we're not going to run, we're going to walk. We walk out the door, we go to the safe zone or what have you. I know in California, the students practice like earthquake drills. And so if we think about it in that sense, organizations can just basically do a fire drill, you know, every, like Andy says, every 4 months or every 3 months, and then have that crisis management plan so everyone's on the same page, not just the leaders, but you have the followers that have faith in the process because they've been trained on it. And then you guys touched on you know, the leaders being able to stay calm and collected and not get amped up, because if they're amped up, they're just gonna, that energy is just gonna flow down to everybody, and then it just makes that crisis a lot worse.
And I think that's where like you said, in the elementary schools, I think that's where the children look up to their teachers as their leaders to remain calm, because they're not in the right mindset. If an earthquake does happen and they see things tumbling down, it's very important for their teacher to remain calm, because that's a lot of children. Children can easily start freaking out, and if their leader isn't calm and collective and patient, then all heck's gonna break loose.
Anyone have any parting thoughts? We got about 30 seconds to cover.
I mean, just we all did a great job in having a plan. It's about being emotionally, and it's about behavior as a behavior leader, and keeping your emotions in check, leading by example, because everybody's looking up to you in those crises, in those situations. So it's all about the way you act, and it's all about how you handle that situation. And it's also about being able to make quick decisions on your feet, rationally. I think that's pretty much what it is about crisis management.
I also think that while there should always be a plan in place for leaders, I also think that there should also be a plan in place for the followers. The people who aren't very, who don't know how to lead. I think it's important to kind of give them something to go off on. If this does happen, follow these protocols. Even if you can't lead, like some of the people in the Hudson on the plane who took initiative, even if you can't take initiative, just try to have a plan in place for the followers as well.
All right. Good job, guys.
Sure.